Theory pregame show. I need to be the one to check to make sure that we're live because I am flying solo today, but I'm excited about this pregame show. I'm excited about today. Today is going to be insane in about an hour and 10 minutes. It is going to be crazy. Let me drop the link so that we can get some more people in here. So I am XJ. I'm flying solo today. Shout out to Jeff, who where he lives is currently getting hammered by a major storm today. So he's dealing with severe weather related issues. So shout out to him, hoping that Jeff is hanging in there. So with that said, forgive me for any pauses or silences. I'm going to be managing the chat, pulling up comments, monologuing, all of that, doing all that stuff at the same time. So just bear with me on that, but really, really appreciate you guys being here as always. This is going to be an insane game that we have on our hands today. So I'm so excited to come here and cover it with you guys. Before we jump in and drop comments in the chat, because it's really going to be like you guys holding down this show with me kind of flying solo here. It's just me and you guys, but this game is going to be crazy. How are you feeling about the game? How are you feeling about the Knicks' chances? What do you expect from the Celtics in this game going into a hostile Madison Square Garden? Drop your comments. I'd love to see them. But first, I want to start with a flashback. I have had this in my mind for a while, and I really wanted to put it out there. So I thought, today, right now, is as good a time as any. Let's go back to October 21st, 2024. Game 1 of the season for both the Knicks and the Celtics, because as we obviously know, they played against each other in that game. The Knicks gave up 132 points for a 165 points per 100 non-garbage time defensive rating. Horrible stuff. 58.8% of the Celtics shots came from three-point range. And of course, we know that they tied the record for the most three-pointers made in a single game in NBA history, and it took them missing their final 13 attempts to not break that record. After that game, Hot Hand Theory, Jeff and we talked about the critical ways that the Knicks played into the Celtics' hands. So that is overhelping, that is playing in drop, that is, even poorly executed hedging on occasions. What the Knicks didn't try very much of, unless it was an emergency or a mistake, really, switching. The Knicks didn't try very much of switching. And I personally had a big disagreement with some Knicks content creators where my view was that the only way to guard this Celtics team is to switch. Implement a ton of switching actions, not just on the ball, but also off the ball, including pre-switching, where you try to keep your weakest defenders out of the action, peel switching on blow-bys, where if the on-ball defender gets beat off the dribble, then the lowest man on defense or the closest defender can take that player, and then the player who was on ball can take his matchup, typically in the corner. Tons of switching actions. That is the only way to guard the Celtics team. And the entire goal of this approach was to force things to be one-on-one as much as possible, with as few advantages as possible. That is the goal of switching. The threes that the Celtics shoot become pull-up threes rather than catch-and-shoot threes. The mismatches become 2-point conversions instead of 3-point conversions. I was told by esteemed analysts, very, very reputable, very good analysts, this is not undermining them in any way. I was told that this is not really a viable approach for more than a few possessions here and there because the Celtics are just too good. You can't give them a steady diet of ISOs against Jalen Brunson. That's crazy. You can't give them a steady diet of ISOs against Jalen Brunson. Against Karl-Anthony Towns, that's crazy. These are bad defenders. They'll dominate you if you give these guys one-on-ones against those guys. Guess what, my friends? It is not crazy. It's the way you guard this Celtics team. Will it always work? No, it won't always work. They may get hot. They may shoot you out of the gym on pull-up threes and isolations. That is absolutely a possibility. But they have to, in a series, have to do this 4 out of 7 times to beat you. And now, right now, where we are right now today, they have to do it 4 times out of 5 times to beat you. They have to do it 4 times out of 5 games to beat you. That's how close the Knicks are right now to the Eastern Conference Finals. I really need to stress this because I see Knicks fans excited and they're really excited about how things have gone so far, but I do think there is not necessarily the overarching appreciation for where the Knicks are and how close they are to an NBA championship in this season, based upon this game 3 right now. This is they are so close. All they have to do is not lose 4 times out of 5 games to the Celtics team. And that's how close they are to an Eastern Conference Finals, where they'll play either an Indiana team that they are better than, or a Cavaliers team who is experiencing very much due shot making regression, and whose second best player, even arguably first best player, is dealing with and Darius Garland is dealing with a significant injury that is clearly severely hampering his play. That's how close the Knicks are to getting to an NBA Finals, where they could get not the best team in the league in the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in a tough series right now, down 2-1 against the Denver Nuggets. They could get the Denver Nuggets, a team who is shooting above their heads right now, or the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team who is reliant on shooting in a very similar way that the Boston Celtics are in terms of shooting efficiency from 3-point range. That's how close the Knicks are to winning an NBA championship this season, this year, in a year where we have repeatedly and consistently maintained on Hot Hand Theory that they have enough talent to win a championship this season. We were repeatedly told they don't have enough talent. The coach can only be expected to do so much. This is actually year 0. A year they were never expected to contend anyway. Towns is not good enough. Bridges is not good enough. McBride as your 6th man is not good enough, or 7th man, or whatever he is. I know that Knicks fans are excited, like I said, but I don't know that Knicks fans are recognizing what this game today at 3:30 p.m. means. If they win game 3, if the Knicks win game 3, they have as good or better a shot to win an NBA championship than any team in the NBA right now, and they have the talent to win a title this season. So I expect this to be the loudest MSG that maybe, I want to say in 20, maybe ever. I expect MSG to be the loudest it's ever been today, because that's how big a game this is. I expect it to be a factor. If you're in the building and you're a Knicks fan, you literally have a job today. Like, you are not going to be entertained and like soaking up the experience or any of that. You're going to do a job. You're going to like make the atmosphere so uncomfortable, like the most uncomfortable thing any road team has ever experienced, because that's how important this game is today. And I'm not saying that the Knicks are on the precipice of a championship. I'm trying to stress how important this game is. Like, it's so simple to say, oh, it's the most important game of the season. Yeah, of course it is. Oh, it's the most important game of the last 5 years. Oh yeah, of course it is. It is one of the most important games in franchise history right now, because you give the Celtics team a win at home in this hostile environment in Madison Square Garden. They see they're able to win that game against all odds, with their back against the wall. Then you give them hope, and now it's a different series. Potentially you could win game 4, but it's still tough. 3-1 to put the Celtics team away. 3-0, it's over. It's over, and I feel totally comfortable saying that. And if you are a Knicks PTSD person, if you're someone who's, we can never say that we're going to win, or I think that's a time of the past. If the Knicks are up 3-0, and this Knicks team is up 3-0, and knock on wood for any injuries or anything like that, obviously, but as long as anything like that doesn't happen, this is a wrap. You win today, and this is immense. So to me, the start of the game is going to be crucial, because if the Knicks start out on a run and the crowd gets going and the Celtics have to deal with that, they are in deep trouble. And if you are a Knicks fan in the building, like I said, it doesn't matter if the Celtics start the game on a 15-0 run, and it's like, oh, well, they silenced the crowd. No, you can never relent. The Celtics have to be confused. They have to be like, aren't we up 15-0? Why is this crowd like at deafening? It doesn't make sense. Like, that is your job today as a Knicks fan in the audience. I just think that's how significant this game is in terms of what winning does to the Knicks' chances of winning a title this season. So I just wanted to start out on that little rant, monologue, whatever you want to call it, because I do think it is underappreciated how important this game is. Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. It feels like there's so far to go, and there is so far to go, but this is where it starts. And this changes things. This really changes things in terms of the Knicks' probabilities of winning a championship. Just not talking about, like, again, like these other factors like Knicks PTSD, all those kinds of things. Just pure probabilities of winning a championship. A win today is a complete differentiator between a versus a loss today, like on such a huge level. So I appreciate you guys being here. Shout out to the Hot Hand Theory chat. I'm going to be engaging with you guys heavy over the next, looks like 50 minutes now, right up until game time. With Jeff out, like I mentioned, if you're just getting here, Jeff is where he lives is getting wrecked by a storm right now. So he's handling some stuff around the house. So I'm going to be doing everything in the chat, pulling up comments, sharing some stuff on Twitter, doing a bunch of stuff, but I'm super excited. Appreciate you guys all being here. I've said this before. I think that I feel strongly that the Hot Hand Theory chat is like the most insightful, thoughtful, like smartest basketball community on the planet. In my humble opinion, I feel like I can say that because I've read each and every one of the comments that we've ever received in the history of this channel. I've personally read each and every single one of them, and I've never seen anything like it. The comments, the level of thought that goes into them, the open-mindedness to things that we don't agree with, or just the way that we disagree on things, I think it's just incredible. And so I'm super excited and honored to be here with you guys. I'm going to start diving into the chat and seeing how things are going, seeing how people are feeling. Again, so excited to have you all here. This is a crazy game, and if you're a Knicks fan, Hot Hand Theory covers all NBA. But we don't hide the fact that like we're Knicks fans and have been and cover the Knicks predominantly right now where we are with in the lifetime of the channel. And if you're a Knicks fan right now, this is such a critical game, and you could not be more excited about an NBA game, the fact that they're here right now. So shout out to all of you. We got some comments. Brijesh says, HHT game 3, let's go. Shout out to you. Kevin Pierre says, buckling up. You gotta buckle up because I do not know I don't have a prediction about what's gonna happen, to be honest with you. I think the Knicks will win this game, and that is on the back of, I know they're underdogs in this game, and it would be crazy to imagine the Knicks sweeping the Boston Celtics, but I have to imagine MSG is going to be like unlike something that we've seen in a long time, because it has to be, because if Knicks fans recognize the importance of this game, that is how they're going to show up. It is the most important game in a very long time for this franchise and for this city. So I have to imagine that's how Knicks fans are going to show up. So that to me is worth more than the typical 3 points of home court advantage or something like that. That's worth like 7 points or something. I think it's going to be completely a hostile environment. John Leary, shout out John Leary. Appreciate you being here as always. Today feels like a must win, feeling nervous. Offense has to be better going forward. Absolutely it does. Plus, get Cat 3-point attempts up. Agree with that across the board. It does feel like a must win, nervous feeling, and not because the Knicks will like lose the series if they lose this game. Although obviously they could, but if they win this game, they will win this series. Like that is all but a guarantee, and we all know that. So that is why it feels like a must win. It's like you don't want to let the Celtics team back into the series, especially feeling like, man, we took their best shot possible. Game 3, they win this game, they win this series pretty much. The crowd is going crazy at MSG. And what can you expect from New York on a Saturday afternoon, like knowing what this means for this franchise and for this city? If the Celtics take their best shot and move forward and are able to win this game, especially if they're able to win it by, 9, 10, 11 points, man, that's going to be a huge boost for them. So this is a humongous swing game. Jason says hyped, and I'm going to talk about specifics as far as the offense being better and Cat getting 3-point attempts up for sure as we go along. Jason says hype, let's go. It is, you have to be hyped if you're a basketball fan, if you're a Knicks fan right now. John again says going up 3-0 in a series essentially over, 2-1 very much alive, and Celtics will feel confident. Yeah, exactly what I was just saying. Yeah, you said it even better. It's 2-1, you feel alive and confident. You're the Celtics, you feel like, hey, we're the better team. You're basically in the situation where Yeah, okay, we lost. We dropped a game that we shouldn't have, but we're fine now. We're fine. We're right where we want to be. Like, look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think the Thunder are going to win that series. I don't think they're feeling scared and oh no, we're down two. I think they're like, yeah, we're good. We'll win this series in 6 or 7 games, even though they're down 2-1 because they're the better team. And so I think you can feel that level of confidence when you go up 2-1, especially if you take the opponent's best shot. It's a huge, huge, huge swing game. Jordan Bubb, shout out Jordan Bubb. Outside of MSG is already buzzing. Knicks fans smell blood in the water. Whew, I can't even imagine what it's like. If anybody, I mean, I doubt there's somebody watching this that's at the game because the in-person environment is probably crazy. But like, if people are seeing videos and anything live that's going on at MSG, let me know what the environment's like because I can only imagine what that is downtown. I used to work on 34th Street, like a couple blocks down from MSG, and just the environment, just being there is crazy. Even if the Knicks aren't playing, like I can only imagine, man. It's gonna be crazy. Uh, Nate's live talk says gonna be funny to see the Knicks melt down if Celtics win the series. Hey man, if the Celtics win this series, I will say they must have earned it. They must have earned it because the situation that we're in right now is so critical from a Celtics standpoint. The Celtics are coming in there facing a ton of criticism. I want to take this time to talk about what people talk about as like experience and experience mattering so much and being so important and championship experience. I heard it a million times with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Denver Nuggets game last night. Well, the Nuggets have the experience and they know how to handle things. They're a championship team, and it's like, aren't the Celtics just won a championship? The Celtics just won a championship and melted down 2 games in a row. The Celtics just won a championship. It's the same exact team. There's literally the exact same team, same players, same coach, same roster, probably same ball boy, probably same, physical training staff. They just did it, and they melted down 2 games in a row at home. Where's their championship experience? Well, why doesn't experience matter in that situation? But somehow the Nuggets winning is all about experience and the lack thereof on the behalf of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't know. I think that's a bit overrated and overstated. And, of course, if the Celtics win today, that is what the narrative is going to be. You guys all know, I know, the narrative is going to be championship team back against the wall. They know how to win. They've been here before. All of those tropes that we hear all the time. And to be frankly with you, I don't want to hear those. I don't want to hear about that. Like, I really don't care about that. It's an annoying narrative, and I don't want to hear about it. And if the Knicks win, those narratives are gone. They're in the trash, and nobody will ever hear them again. I'm going to say that. It'll go on forever, but nobody will hear it moving forward in this playoffs. And if they do, I'll be the first to dive on that because it doesn't make sense. But I agree with Nate's live talk. Not that it'll be funny, but the Knicks fans and Knicks it'll be a struggle if the Celtics somehow come back and win this series. John Leary says, what's your take on home court advantage in general? Do you think it's super important? So it's weird. Like, I think that it's super important in particular games. Like, I think it's super important. I think home court advantage is important in this situation because of what I mentioned about the Knicks crowd but I do think in a regular kind of postseason game, it's not the most critical thing in the world. And we have seen a bit of a regression in terms of how important home court advantage is in terms of the winning percentages in the playoffs. And we would already expect teams who have the home court to win more often because they're the better team, not just because they have home court, but because they're a higher seed, meaning that they're likely the better team. And so, especially in a 1-8 dynamic, a 2-7 dynamic, we'd expect the home court team to win the vast majority of time because they're the better team. So that's always going to pull those averages in terms of win-loss for home court advantage is always going to be higher on the win side. Does home court advantage matter a ton when the teams are even? When maybe the away team, the rare situation where their away team is potentially better, like let's say there's an injury to the team that has home court or something like that. I'm a little skeptical on that because I just think Jeff actually mentioned this to me and like sort of like an anecdote, but basically where LeBron had talked about how he really like cherishes these games in the playoffs where his team is coming in on the road and sort of like he feels a little lighter because it's just, stuff that you hear, the 15 guys, it's just the 15 of us against everyone here. And there's less pressure. You're not necessarily expected to win, all of those things. And I think those things could matter. Like, could it balance out to be a wash? Could it balance out to be where home court matters a little bit less than we think? All those things are possible. I don't know for sure, but I don't think home court advantage is the most important thing unless we're talking about a situation like now where I expect Madison Square Garden to be unlike any environment that even championship teams have been in before. And if Knicks fans are recognizing the gravity of this game, they will ensure that it is like that. So we will see. Brajesh says, what adjustments do you expect from Joe Mazzulla? It's a good question. It's a really good question. And so I think Mazzulla is going to largely maintain the approach that the Celtics have had overall. So I think largely they're getting the shots that they're going to want to get in these situations. They're obviously they're taking a lot of pull-up threes, and like I talked about earlier on to start the show, when you're doing a lot of switching, when you're playing isolation, when you're giving them mismatches in isolation, oftentimes those shots are going to be off the dribble, whether they're 2-pointers or 3-pointers. And so I think Mazzulla is pretty happy with the shots that they've gotten. They've gotten the better shot quality across both games. I think the place where Mazzulla is not happy and where things need to change for the Celtics is in late game, end of quarter, late fourth quarter situations where the Knicks have been the better team just clearly because of the low variance shots that they take. They're in their comfort zone with Jalen Brunson just getting to his spots and getting shots up that he hits at like a ridiculous clip for somebody of his stature, his size. He's just so good in those situations, and they're just playing in their comfort zone. That's their comfort zone. That's where they thrive. And that is not the comfort zone for the Celtics, because the Celtics are more about averages over time. The Celtics are about, if we have 100 possessions and we get this number of shots, we expect to make this percentage of those shots, and that's going to be more points than you're able to score. And that's how they play. And that's Mazzulla's perspective, and that's his view on basketball. And I actually echo that largely. The problem is when you come to these late game situations, especially, again, end of the game, end of the fourth quarter, but also just late in a quarter situation, a lot of times you have to just score. You have to just get points on the board. And Jeff has talked about this a lot, and we've disagreed about what that threshold is, but we both agree there's a threshold. You have to just get points on the board. And sometimes the Celtics just have empty possessions in situations where, yeah, maybe they can get to a decent shot quality shot, but you're coming away with 0 or 3. You'd rather come away with, more likely to come away with 2 than 0 or 3 in those situations. And so I do think Mazzulla is probably going to take a stronger hold on the team in terms of calling plays, trying to create advantages to get to the rim in situations late in the game, either get to the rim or get wide open catch and shoot threes. And something that I've noticed about the Celtics is their spacing has not been quite what you would expect. I think in a lot of ways because their shooting hasn't been perfect. Their shooting hasn't been what they've wanted kind of for a while now, obviously in the Magic series and before that even. And so I think they're trying to get closer shots to reduce that variance a little bit, but they need to space out. There's a way the Celtics operate is they deep space so that when Jason Tatum has an isolation against Jalen Brunson, he can get all the way to the rim, not so he can, drive and take a tough midi or drive and take a contested rim attempt. He wants to get all the way to the rim one-on-one against Brunson, and nobody is anywhere around to be able to help him recover. And the way that teams are not able to help and recover against the Celtics is because their shooters are spaced so far out. You typically have Derek White and Peyton Pritchard and Kristaps Porzingis, who has been unhealthy and is going to start this game, spaced out all the way to the hash. And so if you're someone like OG Anunoby who loves to dig and recover, or a guy like Josh Hart who can sometimes float around and create havoc, you're in no man's land. You cannot help and recover. You're either allowing the shot at the rim, that's it, a clean shot at the rim from a guy like Jason Tatum, a guy like Jaylen Brown with a mismatch, or you're allowing a wide open 3-point shot. And the Celtics have not gotten those consistently, either one of those situations. So I do think we're going to see more attention to detail on the spacing. And I think we're going to see more specific organized offense in late game situations, late end of quarter situations where they're kind of trying to create and make sure they get a shot to score, get some points on the board, as opposed to having potentially empty possessions. Those are basically the three ways, or I don't know if I said two or three. Those are the ways that I think that the Celtics are going to adjust. I don't think they're going to make big overhauls, especially with how their defense is playing, which has been excellent. Let's go, Jared. Appreciate the comment. Love the analysis here. Appreciate you. Any thoughts on how to handle Holiday slip to the rim? Good question. Celtics have gotten good looks with that, but haven't done it a ton. Worried about that action today. Let's go, Knicks. This is such a great question, because how do you deal with switching defenses? And this is a question that's been posed for the Knicks all season, because this was the boogeyman. Oh, how do you stop the Knicks? The only way that you can stop the Knicks offense is through switching, and that was the big question. And it's like the Knicks can't do anything with switching, at least like halfway through the season. That was the big issue, and it was like, okay, well, there's a few things you can do, and one thing you can do is integrate a lot of slips, a lot of ghost screens that are sort of confusing, and make easy, clean switches a bit more complicated. And so I do think we'll see a little bit more of this that you're describing here, Jared, in this game from the Celtics, and they have gotten good looks with that. I think you kind of let them pepper this, though. Like you let them try to kind of get looks, and you don't overcommit, you don't over collapse, you don't overreact to these slips to the rim, and maybe they'll get a layup here or two, but you stick to your base scheme of switching, and if anything, you switch more liberally and more often, and you try to force them into pull-up shots off the dribble. And so if you need to give a little bit more space to especially a guy like Jaylen Brown, who's on the ball, I'll live with Jaylen. If Jaylen Brown just roasts the Knicks from 3-point range on pull-up threes, oh man, I'll live with it. Like you gotta live with something. You can't take away everything. And so I just kind of think you're gonna play it more where you're giving up these pull-up threes more often than you're giving up these uncontested layup attempts. And so you switch early, you switch often, and even if that gives the opposing shooter, a guy on the ball, a little bit more space to get a shot off. So John Leary, Celtics will stick to their game. In my opinion, will still take a lot of threes. Yeah, John, we're just like saying the same thing. I'm looking at the comments one at a time, because I'm trying to keep track of everything, doing this myself right now. But yeah, you're hitting all the things that I'm saying before I'm even saying it. Yeah, I think the Celtics are going to stick to their game plan. Like I said, I think they're going to make fine-tune adjustments. I don't think they're going to adjust much defensively. Maybe we'll see some more slips and go screens, but for the most part, this is what we're going to see. And I think increased a focus on increased spacing, consistent spacing. People don't know the Celtics, or people don't notice a lot. The Celtics love to play slow. They don't like to play high pace. We think of pace and space as going together as couples, but they're not for the Celtics. The Celtics play with a slow pace and high space. So I think we'll continue to see them slow it down, be methodical, focus on their spacing, not push too early if they don't have an opportunity in transition. Make sure guys are spaced out as much as possible. Kristaps Porzingis will help a ton with that, because he's a great deep range shooter. Derek White will be shooting from long range. Peyton Pritchard may play a little bit more, because they need more long range shooting on the court. So I do think that that's the biggest adjustment we'll see. And then again, like I said, more organized offense in situations where they just need to get points on the board, as opposed to having potential empty possessions. Lou Bang 718, shout out to the 718. Let's go NY. We need this. Absolutely. This is so critical. I'm not going to overemphasize this again, and shout out to everybody who's just joined and who's continuing to join. People continue to kind of pile in to here into the chat, and appreciate you all being here. I've just been talking about how important this game is, and you can't overestimate the importance of this game. I think it's so critical, and 30 minutes left before I'm getting butterflies, because I just live for NBA basketball, and this high leverage NBA basketball is gonna be so fun to watch. Jordan Bubb says Brunson will come out in kill mode and have an impressive first half with elite efficiency from the field. I could see it, and he kind of has to, honestly. Like I could totally see that. I could see this. The one thing I'm concerned about, like from the situation of what MSG is going to be like, and what I was talking about with the crowd being like something we've never heard before, that could put a little pressure on the Knicks too, about just wanting to perform for the crowd. That is possible. And so I could imagine some guys being a little bit off, a little bit overexcited, a little bit pumped up, recognizing how important a game this is. And so Brunson, that kind of mimics or emulates what crunch time is like, like the high leverage, importance, pressure packed situations. And we know that Brunson does thrive in those situations because it's his comfort zone. It's all about where you're comfortable. And if you're just doing what you do, you're doing something that you're totally comfortable doing, you're going to perform really well. And for whatever reason, through repetitions, through practice, through his training with his dad, and throughout his life and all the situations that he's been in, these are his comfort zones. I'm going to get to my spot. I'm going to score. I'm going to get to my spot. I'm going to score. I'm going to slow things down. I'm not going to go too fast and take a crazy shot. Guys who get to the rim and kind of force shots at the rim. No, I'm not going to force a shot at the rim. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to post up. I'm going to turn. I'm going to survey. I'm gonna get to a pump fake. I'm gonna step through. I'm gonna do everything I can and be super methodical about it. And every shot I take is gonna be one I'm comfortable taking. And so that is Brunson's gift. And I think that they may need some of that earlier on in the game just to settle things down. But we'll see. David Goodman says championship talk is gonna piss off the basketball gods. Lots of work to do in this series. I totally hear you. I get that perspective. Here's where I'm coming from. I think it's important to recognize how important this game is, and the fact that this is sort of a portal to ridiculously increased championship odds is really important to me. For again, Knicks fans to recognize, Knicks fans at MSG to recognize, and the Knicks to recognize, to come out with the appropriate level of effort. Like, this is a put it all on the line game, and if you look at this as a must-win game, if you look at this as Game 7 for you, it's so hard to match that kind of level of attention to detail and that level of intensity when the team that's coming in is feeling that. They know if they go down 3-0, it's over. It's done. They know it's done. They know that. They recognize that. NBA players know that. And so to match that, you have to recognize that what the stakes are of this game. And I think it's really important to talk about that. That doesn't mean the Knicks are going to win a championship if they win this game, but recognize that winning this game, what that does for their probabilities of winning a championship, is so critical. This is the biggest swing game in terms of the Knicks championship odds that you could possibly imagine. At this point in the semifinals of an Eastern Conference semifinal. So I totally hear you about. I'm not saying it like, well, the Knicks are going to win the championship if they didn't win this game. I'm saying it like, recognize the swing that we're talking about that winning this game will create. But definitely appreciate the comment and appreciate the the caution there, because I genuinely agree with that. Brajesh says, they have to win 4 of 5 is a good point, but will Tibbs stick with switching for 5 games if the Celtics shots start falling? Oh my! See, this is why you guys are the best. Like, this is such an incredible point because it's so essential. And I started with this monologue talking about, switching, and this is the way to approach beating the Celtics. And now you've done it for 2 games, and now you just have to do it for 5 games, and they have to not be successful in it for 4 out of 5. Will Tibbs switch things up? This is a great question, because we think of the playoffs as like a time for about adjustments. It's all about adjustments. What adjustments will the team make? How do they figure out how to move forward from game to game? Sometimes it's about not making adjustments. Sometimes it's about understanding why you lost is not because of your approach, was just because of things like variance, things like bad fortune. I don't know, people hate the word luck. Luck is a factor in basketball, guys. Luck is a factor in every single game that is not like, chess, that is like 100% based on skill and there's no other factors involved. Luck is just a word to express things that are out of your control. And that's a factor in basketball. It's a factor in football. It's a factor in all sports. It's not a bad word, but my point is just that sometimes you lose as a result of bad luck. And that's just what happens. And you have to recognize, did I lose because of bad luck? Did I lose because of bad fortune? Did I lose because someone just got hot and hit a bunch of shots, but they got the shots that I'm happy to live with? Or did I lose because the strategy was off, the tactics were off, the approach was off, there was something else going on? That diagnosis of what was the problem is so critical to being able to make the appropriate adjustments in a series. It is all about that diagnosis process, because oftentimes there's a set of solutions that are kind of there for you. It's like, all right, well, here's the problem. let's talk with the coaching staff. There's about 3 different solutions we could implement. Let's try one, the one that we think is most likely to win. If that one doesn't work, let's try this other one. Like, you can kind of go through a more linear scientific process when you understand what this problem is. And that diagnosis is the hard part. And so to me, the question is, does Tibbs have the right diagnosis of what the problem is if they start losing, if the Celtics start hitting shots and maybe even they lose 2 games at home, worst case scenario? And that's a good question. I don't have the answer for you. And I don't have the answer of whether that will be the problem. Like, who knows? Like, maybe there's other problems that are going on that we can't predict from right now, and we'll have to see. But it's a great question. It's a great question, and we'll just have to see about that. I don't have a great feel on that. Jason says, feeling like Deuce is going to have a big game today. 4 to 5 trays. Oh, man. We're talking about the crowd. We're talking about the MSG crowd. If the Knicks, if Deuce McBride hits 4 to 5 threes today, if he makes one, that Deuce chant is going to be insane. If he hits another, that Deuce chant is going to be insane. The time he pulls up for a third, the roof may actually blow off of the building. Like, that is totally a feasible thing to happen. I don't know if it's possible, but it feels feasible to me. So I'm gonna say if this happens, the Knicks probably win the game by 12 points if Deuce hits 4 to 5 threes today. And he's going to be a huge factor because he's starting to play better. He started to settle down off of the Pistons series. He's been a lot better in the Celtics series and has been hugely impactful in his minutes, and was much better than Mikal Bridges was up until the craziness that we saw from Mikal Bridges later on in the game. But up until that point, Deuce was a much more impactful player. So if he hits big shots, good luck to the Celtics today. Blood of the Panther, salute. Shout out to my guy. Today's the day. Knicks evolve again. Rejoice. Great point. I mean, I really do think there's just like a lot of this PTSD, old school Knicks kind of watcher stuff going on. And I understand it because, I can be an anxious person. I can think about worst case scenarios. I am an anxious person. I'll just tell you guys that I'm always thinking about problem solutions. What's coming? What's next? How do I plan? How do I figure it out? How do I answer this? I'm always forward thinking, and being that kind of way, you're like always thinking what could go wrong and how will it go wrong and what will I do about it? And if you don't have control, you feel really bad because you're like, I could see all these things that could go wrong, but I can't do anything about it. That's the worst place to be in. But right now, I think that we have to recognize that this is not that same Knicks team. And yeah, maybe they do lose this series, but I don't think it's going to be because this is a Knicks team that just folds under pressure or always the worst case scenario thing happens to them. I think this is a different team, and we've seen them as they pulled out games, clutch time after clutch time after clutch time, because they have a guy like Jalen Brunson, because they have guys who have played in these pressure situations before and understand what to do in these situations, not just because they're dogs or, some people may believe that. Maybe that's true. I'm not sure how to, quantify that. But I do know that they're comfortable in situations where they just have to get a bucket. And that's what you care about. How do we put points on the board? Not how do we get that most high value shot? Not how do we math out the game to make sure that at the end of it, we're up, we scored 10 more points than the other team, but how do we just get points on the board right now? And they're able to do that consistently enough to the point where if they're able to keep this game close, it is a chance for evolution from the standpoint of the Knicks, how the organization is seen and how fans see the team, honestly. Where are we at with time? Man, we only have 20 minutes left. I feel like this has been fun. I feel like we've just been kind of flying through. This is crazy. Tendril, every playoff game moving forward will be the most important playoff game. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I don't personally agree with that. So, and I'll tell you why. Like, a direct example would be like if the Knicks win this game, Game 4 is like almost doesn't matter. Like it's not an important playoff game. No, it doesn't matter. You want to win it, but it's not. That's going to not be the most important game moving forward. I just think the swing in terms of your championship odds at this point in the season, at this point in a playoff run and a postseason stretch, is normally not so aggressive for a semifinals game in your conference. Like it's very rare that you're in this situation so early in the playoffs, and that's what I'm trying to express. Like, for a semifinals game, yes, of course, if you're like trying to close out the Eastern Conference Finals. It's like the most important game. I agree with that. But relative to where you are in the process right now in the postseason progression, right now is such a disproportionately important game. And I think that needs to be recognized. And the Knicks have to go in, and Knicks fans at MSG have to go in with that perspective. And that's what I'm trying to convey. In a lot of ways, you are right. Of course, like I said, if you're closing out a game to go to the finals, if you're closing out the finals to win a championship, that's the most important game. But I don't think it's always balanced. It's disproportionate relative to where you are right now is a big deal. So I agree and disagree with you to an extent. Jordan Bub, I feel like Brunson is going to be elite, an MVP type of performance, because Brunson always bounces back from bad games, and in his Knicks playoff career carried Knicks to 3-0 series lead. Yeah, you made a similar comment about Brunson. I could totally see it. The bounce back trajectory pattern that he's had, and just the gravity of this game, and maybe how the team will lean on him. Yeah, I could absolutely see all of it. John Leary says, XJ, when you watch games, are you calm or nervous? I'm pretty calm like throughout the game. I get nervous. I get nervous at the end, but I get very like I hold my emotions inward. I don't know how you guys are. Like, you could drop in the comments how you are. I hold my emotions inward. So like there was one game that the Miami Heat game when Julius Randle hit the 3 to win it. We were watching it on a live stream for Knicks Film School. And I think it was me, Andrew. Yeah, it was me, Andrew, Claudio, Mensa, and Sean. I think it was the four of us. And we're watching it. And I'm just like, Randall's losing the ball. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is like, they're going to blow this. And, on the live stream, I'm just like this. I'm just like, I'm not even reacting to it. Like, I had no emotions. And even when Randall hit the shot, I didn't even react instantly, because it's just like, I just hold it all in. So I guess I'm nervous on the inside, but I project probably like some level of like calmness, but maybe I'm nervous on the inside. I'm not sure. Good question. I don't know. Retire from healthcare. Shout out to you. Good energy, XJ. Yeah, you gotta have the energy today. If you don't have the energy today, do we love basketball? Like, I don't know. Like, you gotta, if you love basketball, you have to have the energy. Absolutely. I'm bringing it because I'm excited, man. This is going to be crazy. Please don't fall behind by 20 points again. LOL, John Leary. Yeah. That wouldn't be great to do, especially at home. You do not want to take your crowd out of it. Retire from healthcare. Towns only 3-point attempts last 3 games. Completely unacceptable. Yeah, absolutely. We actually had a comment on our most recent podcast that we recorded and released, I think, yesterday. And again, let's get such ridiculously thoughtful and great comments. Somebody mentioned about, I wish I had it in front of me. I don't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned about doing more Hart and Towns pick and roll, pick and pops. And I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that is a way to get Karl-Anthony Towns some open threes, because the challenge with Towns hitting threes is the fact that Josh Hart is on the court, and Josh Hart has played really well. Very difficult to imagine taking him off the court for too long a period of time or too large a percentage of the game. But the fact that you have him on the court is disallowing Towns from really being able to get open threes. The Celtics are keyed in on not letting Towns get open threes. That is a big part of their strategy. And I think Mazzulla, although he's getting a lot of slack for the Celtics offense, it's not really getting enough credit for the way the Celtics have played defense, which has been excellent across 2 games. And part of that strategy is not letting Towns get open threes, whether it's those late trailing, semi-transition threes that he loves to pull up from the top of the key, or wide open catch and shoot threes on pick and pops. They're just not allowing it. So I think one way to manufacture threes for Towns is to put Hart in action, have Hart have the ball, run pick and pops with Karl-Anthony Towns, and that'll make the Celtics have to rethink their strategy about putting the big on Hart and how they're going to approach that. Are they going to switch it? Are they going to allow the big to be on Towns? And if they do allow the big to be on Towns, especially if it's Kristaps Porzingis as opposed to Al Horford, that is an opportunity for Towns to get more threes, or to pull Kristaps away from the rim and have the Knicks get more layups. So I think you put the Celtics in a conundrum. Shout out to the person who left that comment, and something that I think is an important idea. One way to manufacture more threes for Towns. Jordan Bub says he's at his best when he's needed. Tom Thibodeau on Jalen Brunson. Absolutely. I mean, this is what it comes down to. This is why he is an MVP level player, and we'll see him perform in this situation. The Plaid Unicorn says super nervous, but ultimately proud of what the team has done in this series. Yeah, you got to feel you got to feel really good about what the team has done so far and the approach that they've taken, the willingness to adjust and to kind of do something that they haven't been willing to do all season, and something that some of us have been calling for since game number one. But it's awesome that they've done it, and the team has definitely performed to a point where you definitely have to be proud of them. Dawn Marie, shout out to you. We nervous, but the captain is calm. I really think that these guys are calm. I really think that these guys are, for the most part, just looking forward to the opportunity. And I think if you look at it as an opportunity, as opposed to, a pressure-packed situation that you have to perform, then that does put things in perspective. It's like, man, you have the chance to go up 3-0 in the Eastern Conference semifinals against a team that basically you were 8-1 underdogs against and that no one thought you could win. This is a great opportunity. That's awesome, man. It's cool to be in that situation. And yeah, maybe you lose. That's one of the possibilities. You lose this game, you lose the series. But it's really about the opportunity you have in front of you and just doing your best to take advantage of it. And so I imagine that's the perspective that Brunson brings, having been in all types of high leverage situations and games in his life. And I do think that maybe, again, he can take some of the pressure off of his teammates by performing early, like Jordan Bubb has been saying. And speaking of Jordan Bubb, I'm actually watching game 2 of OKC and Denver and seeing Thunder miss open shots, Brown winning SGA matchup, AG, Jamal, MPJ being great when they need to be, and Jokic having a great OT. That's a great breakdown of how things went. OKC was missing a ton of shots, ton of variance in that series, and I think we're gonna do a video essay on the idea of variance and trying to explain like luck and what that means, and like just all these factors that feel like buzzwords or like negative, like pejoratives in some way, but just like really trying to break them down in more detail. And so that's something we're gonna potentially produce a video essay on, just to really explain like our perspective on that and like some of the probabilistic stuff and all of that. Maybe it'll be too nerdy, but hopefully people find it interesting. John Leary says, maybe don't chant any F Celtics players. I don't want to give him any extra motivation. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Celtics could have more motivation. Like if they have this championship DNA that people talk about, then they're maxed out on motivation. But yeah, I think instead of jeering the Celtics team, it all has to be about cheering the Knicks team no matter what happens throughout the entirety of the game. Isaac Levy or Levy, I'm not sure how you say, I'm sorry. I think if the Knicks starters get 20 shots each, we win. Yeah, you definitely would want to see a more equitable, egalitarian offense from the Knicks. But again, I really think it depends on what the other team, the other players have. I do think that Brunson is in a situation to I don't want him to play hero ball and necessarily, but I do think he's in a situation to like keep the pulse and the pace of the game steady, keeping the Knicks attached if they're behind or ahead if they're ahead. And I do think he'll kind of be the one maintaining. And I do think overall, if they are able to get Towns a bunch of shots, especially from 3, if Hart is able to do things on the ball to attack the way that they defend him with the ghost coverage, a lot of those things would end up being where Bridges, Towns, Hart, Brunson, these guys all have a similar number of shots taken for sure. So I think it's a good comment. Let's see. We got more comments. We got about 12 minutes left. So I'm so excited. I hope you guys are ready. Did you see Tatum's pregame fit? No, I didn't. Let me know what it was looking like. Maybe I'll check it out after this game. I did not see it. Jabal Webb-Smith, appreciate your work, XJ. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all for sure. Thank you to everybody who's been here. Like, I know there's like 150 Knicks pregame shows and postgame shows and podcasts and so much going on. And I don't think it's a zero-sum game in this situation in terms of everything that's going on, because there's so much interest and excitement about the Knicks right now. So, I do recognize for a situation like this, you need to go into a live stream, you have to make a choice. And if you're here, I love you and I appreciate it very much. And hopefully, you appreciate the kind of breakdown and analysis that we give here. And hopefully we're sharing stuff that you're not necessarily hearing elsewhere, but definitely appreciate all of you guys. Let's see. Oh, Tatum's trying. Tony Santos says Tatum's trying to farm wearing Timbs. That's funny. I don't know what Tatum has to do to get his mind right, but we'll see if it works. That's all I'll say. Pedro says Celtics didn't face adversity in their championship run. They are really at punch. Oh, I guess they're really good at punching, but they are not used to getting punched in the mouth. Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. So they didn't face Jeff and I talked about this yesterday through text. It's like, they had an easy title run, in terms of the teams that they faced. Like they lucked out so much, and all due respect to the Mavericks, to face the Mavericks instead of all the three other teams that they could have faced in the Timberwolves, the Thunder, and who's the other team that they could have faced? To face the Nuggets. To face the Mavericks in that situation was so fortunate. And just a watered down East. They should have played the Knicks potentially, and they didn't get that good a matchup, like a healthy Knicks team. So yeah, they definitely were untested. At that same time, they were definitely the best team in the league, in my opinion, like clearly and far away, all throughout the regular season, all throughout the playoffs. And yes, they weren't tested, and maybe they didn't have this level of adversity, but I do think they won a championship, so they had to do something to do that. So, and if your point is we don't know how they'll react to being in this situation 2-0 with their back against the walls, it's a valid point for sure. I totally hear that. Jordan says emergence of Peyton Watson as an offensive player was an X factor I didn't think anyone is expecting. I love this comment because, again, this is something Jeff and I were talking about. Peyton Watson just making every three is so critical for the Nuggets, given that he's such an excellent defender. And somebody I've been talking about for a while is like, this guy, if he can hit threes, is an essential piece. It could be better than KCP. I don't think he'll ever hit threes at a KCP rate, but just hitting open threes would make him such an impactful player. And he's doing that. Definitely a surprise that it's happening at this point. And those are some of the things that happen in playoff series where you don't necessarily expect. And you're like, would we call that a luck factor? Would we call it just like Peyton Watson being ready? Or I don't know. There's a lot of things to talk about and break down. We'll do it at a later point. Robert Rivera, I'm not sure the Knicks have ever had an advantage at home. Players love coming into MSG to show out. Yeah, this is a great point. I do think there's some pressure at home. I think teams generally love coming into play at MSG, but I think that's a regular season phenomenon. And in this situation, with the crowd being how I think they should be, so there's what I think should happen and there's what will happen, right? What I think should happen is the crowd should be to create an environment that's like never seen before, like absolutely deafening, absolutely unreasonable is the word I would describe. And that's what I mean when I say, let's say that the Celtics start the game 15-0 run, they should be screaming loud, never be quiet, never quiet down, never change your approach from an audience fan standpoint. Just keep on it. And that would be completely disorienting to any team to be like, what is happening here? This crowd is relentless and unreasonable. And that's the kind of environment that I expect MSG to be. Like, of course, are they going to be like cheering crazy if they were down 15-0? Probably not. But I think to some approximation of that could change how we look at this like advantage at home type situation, especially when it comes to MSG. But good comment, because it's generally true in the regular season for a reason, to a reasonable extent. Tendril says, as long as they aren't using City Edition floor, I'll be so happy. Yeah. I don't know what the court looks like, but yeah, it's a good point. Tom, you're a piece of the guys. Appreciate you, Tom. Wavy, thank you so much. Brajesh says, man, XJ is cooking, especially for doing it as a one-man show. Best content on the interweb. Wow, super kind compliment. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough to do the one-man thing. Like, there's a lot of people that do it. Obviously, John Macri does an amazing job. Like, there's guys that do this all the time. And, to me, it's something I want to continue to get better at. But obviously, it's different without Jeff, who is one of the smartest analysts, like, on the internet in the game doing it. So having him to bounce ideas off of, we build on each other's ideas and we come up to like with some new stuff, but doing it solo is cool too. And I just wanted to bring the energy that's appropriate for this level of game that we're talking about. Somebody's saying Real King is saying sweep. I don't know. That maybe that's messing with the basketball god. Speaking of, David Goodman says, I'm just messing around, XJ. Yeah, I know, but like that one, I don't know, but I'm not saying sweep. Let's see. Mike says laughing emojis. The only thing that Celtics winning is a trip to Cancun. We're getting confident now. Knicks fans are getting confident. Listen, it's okay to be confident, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. Whatever. Like, it doesn't, like, it's not like, man, we shouldn't have said this, and then whatever, man. Like, I feel like the Knicks fans have a reason to be confident and should celebrate where things are and come with a crazy energy today. Brajesh says luck is a factor in life. Absolutely, yeah. It's perfectly put. It's a factor in everything that you do in life, and so luck factors have to do with what job you get, what you're, when you meet your wife or your spouse or whatever, or your husband. Like, it has to do with your financial situation, how well your business does. Like, all of these things involve luck. It's not a bad thing to say, somebody who's been super successful in life has also experienced a lot of luck along the way. That's totally fine. That's understandable. And if the Knicks win this series, we can say they experienced some luck too. If the Denver Nuggets win that series against the Thunder, we can say they experienced some luck too. And they also deserve to win, as they've been able to capitalize on those situations. Nothing wrong with that. No problem there. Ashwin says, if Boston switches everything, would Mikal screening Holiday work? Mikal seemed to cook him in the fourth quarter with Brunson off the floor. Paper versus rock. It's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, I I obviously I'm a big fan of Drew Holiday. He's definitely getting older. I think Bridges was just like on a crazy heater. Like, he was just locked in, and I don't think anybody would have been able to defend him in that situation. I don't think it was necessarily like Drew Holiday is not as good enough defender to guard him, but I think if Bridges is locked in like that, I don't excuse me. See, that's the problem with doing it solo, because then you get the thing, and then yeah. So I could see it, but I think I would not love to challenge Drew Holiday consistently one-on-one over a course of a game. He seemed to lock in, especially defensively, on Brunson. I liked his defense in general, so not necessarily would be my approach, but if Bridges is locked in, he could score on anyone. Jeffrey Glenn says, I want to get Cat the ball in the post early. We're getting a desperate Celtics team. They're going to give us everything we have. Such a good point. We are going to see everything they have. That is absolutely true. And that's a great place to kind of end it. And shout out to everybody in the chat who left additional comments. Appreciate you guys so much for being here. Shout out to David Goodman, says hit the like button, everyone. We got just a few minutes left, and I just want to say again, appreciate you guys so much for being here. Pre-games, this is a new thing that we've been doing, trying to do pre-games. Shout out to Jeff, who hopefully everything's okay with him, with his house and everything going on with the storm and the weather over there. The Knicks may get a win for Jeff, but you guys put on for Jeff, because you guys were here, super active, made this time fly by. Like, I don't even feel like it's been an hour. I don't even feel like I've been talking that long, but super thankful for you all being here. Go watch this game, go enjoy it, go experience like the ups and downs. I'm somebody who's like learning to get more in touch with my emotions, so I'm gonna let myself be like upset or happy or whatever it is, and just go through the ups and the downs of the game, as opposed to just sitting there as like a stoic, like holding my fit, balling my fist up really tensely. So we're going to see how it goes. Going to look for all the adjustments that are happening. And, we'll see you either on the next pregame show or the next podcast, and to break it all down as we usually do. But again, thank you guys all so much for being here, and we will see what happens. This has been Hot Hand Theory, and enjoy the game, everyone.